I thought there were a couple. Maybe they're coming in. There were some over at the library. I don't know.
Sean Payton, I was number 7 for non-agenda. I do want to make sure that my request to pull items 3.
Yes, I noted those two. Thank you. There is no one here to address the public comment portion.
In the room, I think she wanted to pull a consent item. Number 3? Okay. Then we already have it pulled. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then if there are no other speakers, is that, am I understanding that they're not here to speak? Okay. Then we're going to move on to council communications, and if normally we'd like to respond to public comments to make adjustments or answer questions, but since we don't have any, but we still do have communications among us, would you like to start, Mr. Pro Tem?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we'd like to wish my wife and my brother both happy birthdays. And also, I was
today
out there.
The day?
What's that?
Today the day?
No.
Well, it's our oldest son's birthday on today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Okay.
I was out there at the Euclid cleanup. I know Councilmember Fitzgerald was out there, and a lot of city staff, a lot of different community groups out there. It was very impressive. In fact, I think Public Works underestimated the size and the determination of the workforce, and we got a whole lot of stuff planted very quickly. And I think we were probably about an hour ahead of schedule by the time everything was done. And what I heard from some of the Public Works crews is, you know, we know you'll get tired. It's okay. Just let us know when you're done, and we'll come over and take over. And you know what? Nobody was ready to give up. Everybody just kept working at it, and it was great. It was awesome, and the end result was it's very nice. I was able to drive my family by it, and we pointed at it and said, "Hey, we helped do that. That's cool."
The roses are actually blooming now.
That's right. So, anyways, thank you, and that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to thank you for heading up that beautification project. It was great to be a part of it, and there were a lot of people out, not just, well, I mean, not only, you know, community members from that neighborhood that came out. There were a lot of those. Also, Tim Malahy was out there. The Fisks of Fisk Automotive were out there with us. It was a great partnership with community members, business leaders, folks from Parks and Rec, and from the landscape crew was all out there, and they made sure that we didn't do such a bad job that they were going to have to go back and redo it. So it was great to have them out there doing, you know, quality inspection on us. But I really encourage you, if you haven't, you know, been able to get out there yet and volunteer within the community with any of our different organizations that really give back to this community, I really encourage you to do it. Not only does it feel great, but it really makes Fullerton the great community that it is.
Well, since we're talking about that, Davis Barber did prepare a short video of that event. I might also add, not only was it a partnership with residents and businesses that were along the Euclid corridor, but we had members of the DMV come out, 5 of them on their own time. I suppose you could never get a hold of them when you want them, but they were there. They're out there helping us plant the roses and other flowers, and made sure the DMV office was open for restroom purposes. So Team DMV, they did good. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
I've been looking for an opportunity to be more involved with projects that are going on around Fullerton. And I drive up and down this road every single day, and so when I heard especially about the location of wanting to beautify this area, I thought I had to be involved in that. And you know, it's going to be fun to be involved in the planning of this, and you know, have a little bit of an ownership stake in this corner. And every time you drive by, you kind of feel a little bit more connected.
I'm here because I believe in beautifying the city and planting and doing more trees and wanting to keep it beautiful. Because I'm a local business owner and at Euclid and Orangethorpe, so it's really important to me that this area be a nice area and well developed, and I'm super pleased that the city is approving projects and doing things to make the west side of Fullerton look so fantastic, and I want to be a part of giving back to that.
We're business owners in Fullerton and just happy to be part of the project. I mean, look what it does to the city. It's great, and the entry to Fullerton, Euclid, doesn't get any better than this. I mean, glad to be part of it.
Me and my wife, we're here because we just want to pitch in. We want to put our 5 cents, and we really want to contribute to this uplifting of the community, which we love. And we live here. We want to settle in here. We really want to do our future in here. So we're proud of our city. We're proud of Fullerton.
You know, the people who are involved, if they live locally, have a little bit more pride of ownership and involvement in this, and they care about keeping it beautiful, right? And the more involvement, I think, from this area, the better chances it has to stay beautiful.
It's about reducing crime by getting the community involved, and by doing improvement projects like this, it makes the community safer. And it's awesome because we're of the mindset that it doesn't have to take 10 years to do something like this to improve this corridor. It doesn't have to take a planning committee. Those things are great, but when you get people like this together, anything's possible.
You know what? I think when you beautify a city, it makes everybody feel more responsible. It takes behavior up a level. It makes us all feel good and proud of the place we live. So I think that that's going to be good for the whole city, for anybody coming through, and make the Fullerton a more attractive place to do business, to live, to shop, all those things.
Yes, thank you to all of you that came out. And yes, we enjoyed a lot of pizza afterwards, too. We are hoping to have another work day in early March. We don't have the details worked out, but we will publicize that. And it was a good time, a good feeling, and a good, in a way, a spiritual experience, being out there together, making our community better. Mr. Whitaker, comments, please, if any?
Certainly. I wanted to communicate tonight to the citizenry after the events of this past week, at least where I'm coming from, to the degree that I can speak to that. I just wanted to share that when I first ran for the City Council in 2010, my goals were primarily to help improve fiscal and financial issues in Fullerton, and I intended to work on ways to improve the conditions of our streets and other infrastructure, and to increase the basic livability of our city, which in turn would attract businesses to Fullerton and improve our economic future and increase employment opportunities for our citizens. These are all kind of green eyeshade issues. Never in a million years would I have expected to be thrust only 6 months into the council seat into dealing with an item like the death of Kelly Thomas. Again, I'd been on the council 6 months. Into that first term, Kelly Thomas died, and there has been a dark cloud over our city ever since. As the protest this past Saturday shows, that cloud is still there. The district attorney's criminal trial is over, and the jury made their decision. There may still be additional related trials upcoming. I would only hope when the dust settles that we will experience the fruits of some genuine reform in Fullerton, and that dark cloud will dissipate. The last word that I have to say is it is extremely frustrating as a council member to be limited in terms as we are with the legal restrictions. I know there's much more that certain members of the community want to hear from the council. I do apologize for the fact that we really now for 2.5 years, I haven't been allowed to really have an opinion or a bias or a conclusion as relates to this matter. And it may be another couple of years before that can actually occur from my standpoint. So I just wanted to share with you that it is the most frustrating experience that I've had in all my years in public service. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Flory?
Well, this past week I had a very interesting experience. I went with a group of 24 other Fullerton residents to Cuba. It was a trip sponsored by the Muckenthaler, and I learned firsthand what a city looks like when its government does not work. Cuba, the city of Havana, once upon a time, was a beautiful colonial city, as evidenced by the old cathedral and the older sections of Havana, which have been restored. But you don't have to go very far outside of the city. In fact, you don't leave the city. You just go into the more the working areas of the city, also where the art museums are and the government offices. And you'll go by an apartment house, an old building that was converted who knows how long ago into apartments, and the whole side of the building will be blown out. And residents who were in those apartments just moved down a couple floors or down the hall or whatever. It made me very much appreciate the city that we live in and the government structures that we operate under. It was a very educational, informative experience that I'm still kind of putting it together, what I think about. I thought I'd be laying on a Caribbean beach half the time and took 3 bathing suits and never, ever put one of them on. We were on a bus, a train, in a museum. We were on the move all the time. It's made me really question the embargo and who that's hurting and who it's helping and what is the government and what is the embargo all about. In the end, this is kind of the conclusion I came to after much reading about it. Do we want China 90 miles off our shore? Is it time, almost 2.5 generations later, to lift the embargo? What is the purpose for it at this time? And as I say, I'm still trying to frame my thoughts about it, but they are thoughts whirling around that didn't exist prior to this trip. So, to be continued.
Thank you. I have one request of the city manager. I am not informed about what we call vaping, where we have these e-cigarettes, these electronic cigarettes. The sales of them are cropping up everywhere. The advertisement says they're safe and all that. They seem to be primarily marketed to young people. I do not know if they're safe. I do not know if the concoctions are all the same. I don't know who makes them. I don't know how it's taxed in the city. I've seen signs go up that I suspect sign code has not been complied with. I don't know. Or I don't know what other cities are doing about it, whether it's good or bad. I have heard from the medical profession. They are concerned about anything going into the lungs of young people. A lot of these are flavored cherry or orange. It seems to me some of the marketing is similar to what the tobacco industry used to do. It doesn't harm you, and they market to young people to create a future market. So I don't know. Maybe it's perfectly good, harmless. I have no idea. So if I could get some report on what that's all about, because I see it cropping up everywhere.
Okay, we'll take that as direction to provide an information item on a future agenda.
Yes, please, when you can give us some information on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to pull item 4 from the consent calendar.
Any other items that would like to have pulled?
I'd like to pull number 10 and number 9 and number 10.
Number 7.
10's a public hearing.
Oh my gosh.
So is it?
10 is a public hearing. There is no, you mean number 9 and number 7? Did I hear that?
And number 3, I think.
All right, it looks like
7, 8, and 9.
and we already had 3 and 4.
We had 3 and 8.
Well, 3 and 4 also.
Oh, okay.
Do I have a motion from anyone to approve the remaining items?
I'll move the balance of the consent calendar.
Second.
Any comment? Hearing none, call the question. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, carries unanimously. We'll move now to item 3, transfer of former Fullerton Redevelopment Agency capital assets from the City of Fullerton to the Fullerton Successor Agency. And who asked that be pulled? Okay, would you please address the council?
Good evening. My name is Sean Payton. I addressed this. The first thing is I noticed just how convoluted this process is. This property was originally held by the Redevelopment Agency. Then it gets moved to the Successor Agency. Then it gets moved to the City of Fullerton. Now we're moving it back to the Successor Agency. This looks like literally the shell games you see in the boardwalk. Try to guess where the property is being held now. The bigger concern I have about this is, why are we still holding on to this property in the first place? Or these properties, I should say, because there's more than one piece of property there. This is approximately $21.5 million of assets. Most of it is real property. That means that we could sell this on the open market, on a fair market, on an auction, arm's length exchange, and we could use that money to fix our roads. The last council meeting I was here, we had a presentation where we discussed the condition of our roads. Like, we need a council meeting for that. Everyone knows the situation. There was a presentation where we talked about what roads are going to be fixed. There are roads in this town that I could take my hand and I can stick my forearm in the cracks in the middle of those streets. And those roads there's no intent by the city, no plans for the city to fix those roads in the next 10 years. And at the conclusion of that presentation, we said, well, we'll look for other funding opportunities. Here's our funding opportunity. $21.5 million. We can use that for road repairs. We don't have to raise taxes to do it. So rather than keep moving all these assets around, do what you have to do to line this property up so that we can sell it on the open market. But let's unload it. Let's not keep holding on. It's like the city has this obsession with using our hard-earned tax dollars to build another mixed-use development that the market doesn't support. Because if the market supported it, it wouldn't need redevelopment funds. And when we view, and I understand there was a blog post, I'm sure other people will be commenting on about this, for a project in, what was it, the Pelican Long is trying to develop. Again, with taxpayer money, more bond debt, it's enough. Let's stop sinking ourselves into bond debt. Let's start getting ourselves out of the bond debt, and let's start using the money to fix our roads. Thank you.
I have a question to ask you, Mr. Payton. Are you suggesting that we sell the Fullerton train station? Which is subject to a lease currently? You're an
I'm
attorney.
suggesting that we sell the properties that we can sell in that...
the Museum Plaza, for example?
You have a piece of property in there. It is, if you give me a second, I'll have to
The
pull
parking lots that are associated with our business community? If you're going to ask us to sell properties, I would ask you for some specificity.
Okay.
You're an attorney.
Okay, you want specificity.
Well, let's stay on this item.
Amherst Court.
Let me start. This is simply complying with state law. We cannot get into a position to do what you're requesting unless we comply with state law. The dissolution of the redevelopment agency is quite complex. And this is a state law with which we're trying to comply.
Okay. As soon as you do what you need to do, sell Amherst. It's Amherst Court. There have been plans in the books. The city has still been in communications with the developer that they had in mind for the project back in 2011. Still in communications with them, rather than selling that property. Why aren't we selling that property?
It's a parking lot. That's why. And if we were to try to sell that on the downtown business development, people would just come unhinged. We're talking about the property behind the Fullerton Hardware, and
that is subject to a development agreement at the present time. So it's, I don't think we can deal with that for now. But I'd rather avoid arguments here. If anybody else in the public would like to speak on this item, please come forward.
Hello there, Mayor Chafee and council members and city staff. My name is Jane Reifer. I'm a longtime resident and business owner in Fullerton. I'm interested in the Amherst Court project, so I'll just jump right into the same. Well, it's not. I'm not asking for the exact same thing as the gentleman before me, but something somewhat related. I looked for the Amherst Court project on the list of the properties that are being turned back over to the successor agency, and I don't see it. So my questions relating to that are: why is it not on this list? And if it is a former redevelopment property, redevelopment agency property, shouldn't it be turned over to the successor agency with all the others? And then I guess it then would eventually be listed for sale or whatever. I understand there are some considerations for items that are government related, that are used for the general purposes of city government. So I think those have somewhat of a different flavor to them. I apologize for not knowing all the new redevelopment agency dissolution law, but I'm afraid that if we don't do this, we won't be able to stop the Amherst Court project. There's no one complains about parking, but this project, a lot of us consider it inappropriate for our historic downtown. It overpowers the historic downtown. It'll create pressure to tear down other historic buildings, and it contributes to a pattern of having new buildings be the dominant feature in downtown Fullerton, and a lot of us do not think that's appropriate. So my questions again are, is it or is it not on the list? And if it's a former redevelopment agency property, shouldn't it be on the list? What is the current status of that project? Thank you.
Now, can staff respond to that question?
I'll respond to the second part. It doesn't change the status of that. There is a development agreement related to that, and that would come before the council as a separate action for consideration. This is just a matter of a state controller's office audit to come to a conclusion on the ownership of all the properties formerly owned by the agency, and that would, yes, allow the eventual disposition of property if the successor agency and the city council choose to do that. But this is the vast majority of these holdings are, like you said, transportation center, parking structures, parking lots. I'll have to ask Charles specifically, is there a reference to the Amherst Court? It's probably an address on here.
Yeah, Charles Kovac, housing manager. The reference to Amherst Court is that property is part of the property management plan that's part of this dissolution process. And that property was already transferred, I think, in October of last year, along with a bunch of other properties. This is kind of like the balance of that list that was initially transferred in March of 2011.
And this is required by the state law, as I understand it, so we can clarify the ownership.
Exactly. At the time, in March of 2011, there was a very vagueness towards the law and everything, and what you had and didn't have to do. So we're just complying with that and the audit.
And I think it bears noting that our council has asked staff to prepare a list once we go through all of the after going through all the hoops that the DOF, the Department of Finance, the State Department of Finance is requesting, that we have asked staff to do a compendium of all of the properties that the city owns, so for the purpose of spotting surplus properties.
Certainly, and I think that's been in the works and everything. I think we're waiting for the finality with the property management plan, because we got to get the DOF's blessing on that, because they may force us to sell some of the properties that we listed as holding as city properties, such as the parking lots.
Precisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Otherwise, I'd like a motion.
I'll move the item.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I do have a question.
Go ahead with your question.
I'd just like to get an update on when that land management plan is going to come forward.
I would prefer to give you a definitive answer. I will say late March, April. Maybe Charles has another.
Yeah, right now we've been in contact with the Department of Finance. Their analysts, they've asked for backup information to support our conclusions. However, there's no real time frame for them to complete it like some of the other documents, like the ROPS, where they had 45 days. They could take as long as they want. Similar to these audits that are currently being conducted, they can take as long as they want. But we suspect it should be within the month.
Okay. I take it then it is at least in draft form at this point?
It is.
Okay. Is that something I
think it's online, and I think I'm not sure if the council. I think the council might have been given copies.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure.
Let me clarify. We have completed all of our actions from the city's responsibility from point of view, and everything has been submitted prior to the deadlines with the state. So it is in the Department of Finance's hands. They do not have any deadline or mandates on their part. So they've asked for information. We're communicating with them. We're encouraging a quick turnaround.
Could I get a copy of that, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yes, not a question, Mr. Mayor, but explanation prior to the vote. Back in 2011, when these assets were rapidly transferred to the city from the former redevelopment agency, I viewed it as an improper transaction. So I voted against it at that time. Now these assets are being returned to the holding entity, the successor agency, in place of what was formerly the redevelopment agency. I don't oppose the return of these assets to where they should have always been, but I would like to lodge an abstain vote on this as a result.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to call a question. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I heard 4 ayes and 1 abstention.
Correct.
And so please note in the minutes that Mr. Whitaker has abstained. Now we'll move on to number 4, donations to the police department. I don't know who requested that.
I did. I requested that this be pulled just so that we could recognize donations from the Target Corporation, from Brian's Barbecue, from someone who prefers to remain anonymous, as well as Bernard and Judy Kotkin, to support the Adopt a Family, Retired Senior Volunteer and Explorers Program for the Police Department. And with that, I'd move the item.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further comments? Hearing none. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. They move on to item 7. I believe, Mr. Whitaker, you requested that to be pulled?
Yes, pulled only to lodge a no vote on my behalf.
Okay, there's going to be a no vote. Any other questions?
I'd move the item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Whitaker, please note in the minutes he is a no vote. Now on to item 8. I believe someone from the public wanted that pulled.
Thank you. Sean Payton here again. Lucinda, is it possible to put on the screen the last page, the Exhibit B, on this agenda item? Oh, okay. The reason I wanted to pull that, you have the packet. You can take a look at Exhibit B. I'm a little confused by this because looking at this map, it sure looks like the entire sidewalk is being abandoned. This is one of the busiest intersections in the city of Fullerton. I can't imagine that the city would actually abandon the entire sidewalk, but I can only go by what this says, and what this says in this map indicates it's all going. Even if it's only a portion of it, I still have a concern with this. About a year and a half ago, in May of 2012, the City Council voted on it's a tax. I don't know if we refer to it as a fee or whatever for outdoor dining in the city of Fullerton. It works out to 60 to 90 cents a square foot. At that time, I spoke and I said I thought that was too high and that we should lower it. What this will do, by abandoning this location, we're essentially giving this business an exemption from our tax, and that isn't right. If we believe the tax is too low or too high, then let's lower it, but let's lower it for everybody. Sorry, the feedback is very distracting. It's probably not just me where it's distracting. But I don't know where, I don't know the particulars of this, but I do know that if we abandon the property, we would not have a basis. I don't see how we would have a basis to collect that tax. I do not see the benefit of abandoning this property and essentially giving a special exemption to one business. Again, either if one business should have it, all of these businesses should have it. And I think that would be good for businesses overall. Thank you.
Okay, just so it's clear, this is to set a public hearing.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything actually other than set the hearing, and those concerns can be addressed when we do have the hearing. Any further comments?
Maybe
Yes.
You may, if I may, please. And I understand that this is just to schedule a public hearing, but you may want to nip it in the bud if it's something that's not even feasible to begin with. I was kind of curious because the city's spending a lot of time and money and resources into looking into making walkable downtown areas. So much so that we're even considering closing down a street to make it walkable in a nearby area. So I would think this is sort of in conflict with that idea of making a walkable community. And as Mr. Payton pointed out, it is a very high traffic area. We anticipate much more high traffic area as people move into those units, 4 people per unit, high density housing, and that retail. It's going to need pedestrian access clear and open. Thank you.
Any further comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I normally, as you say, this establishes a hearing, but I haven't really been given what's motivating this action. To me, it's a little bit puzzling because you have a 10-foot wide sidewalk on both the north and the southern boundary of this area, and it would seem to be a critical area to allow pedestrian passage. So I guess I haven't been treated to an explanation of why this is even being entertained.
Perhaps Mr. Hoppy could do that for us.
Please.
I'll be happy to try. This is a request from the operator of the business and from the property owner themselves. They'd like to abandon what was a supplemental pedestrian access that was part of the development that you see on the corner. That right-of-way line that's referenced on that exhibit is actually the back of the existing sidewalk. So there's still 10 feet of sidewalk beyond that that's really not shown on the exhibit, but is really still there. So this is just a corner piece that's back behind what was the original limit line, or the right-of-way line, which is where the sidewalk is.
Well, Mr. Hoppy, I was at that business recently, and I didn't have a measuring tape with me, but it's with the current construction, it's hard to conceive. In other words, is what I'm looking at on this map, is there already constructed, is that part of this area? This is about 1,100 square feet, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, so we're almost doing this after the fact, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. You know, sometime back in this city, there was a great controversy over the annexation of public sidewalk by a prominent downtown business, and this appeared to be something along those lines. So that was why, I was seeking some clarification of what's driving this. So I appreciate your answer.
Any further comment?
Yeah, I have one. When I first looked at this, I had the same concerns that I heard from the public. But understanding how these exhibits are created and what they're used for, I understand that maybe we're reading into this more than what there really is. So I think it would be beneficial if we could have just an exhibit that roughly shows where the curb is. I think if we could see where the curb is in relation to this easement, we'd probably see that there's adequate room to traverse around the block and you know, walk with a stroller or wheelchair or whatever, and have ample room. But one of the things that I first looked at was, why isn't this a lease? But then when we look at the nature of this easement, it's not a public right-of-way. It is specifically a pedestrian access easement. So because of the nature of the type of right that the public has over it, we can't, we don't have a mechanism to change that right into some other usage. So we can either continue to use it for pedestrian access, or we can essentially abandon it and let the property owner who physically owns all of that property be able to use and enjoy it to the fullest extent possible. So I really don't have an issue with it, but I would like to see an exhibit that shows a curb line.
Well, thank you for the excellent suggestion. Okay. All this is doing is setting a hearing date when we will get the full explanation. I'd like to have a motion.
Move the item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8. Any further discussion?
I do look forward to additional detail on this, but I will support the hearing.
Okay. Call the question. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I think I heard 5 ayes. Carries unanimously. And then we have item 9 was also a request to be pulled. I don't know who asked for
I asked for that to be pulled. My question's for Public Works Director Hoppy. As a land surveyor, I just wanted to understand how, because I've seen how some of these projects operate, and we go out, we have a contractor go and replace bunches of curbs and sidewalks and gutters and you know, the areas that are really torn up. And I know that there's a component in there for land surveying for the survey monuments that are out there. I'm just curious as to, is that built into this cost, or is there an additional cost for that?
It should be built into the overall cost of the project. It's done separately by a consultant.
Okay, so it's not rolled into this bid cost?
That's correct.
It's part of the administration maybe, or contract and, inspection testing?
Yes.
Okay. With that, I'll move the item.
Second.
Any further? No. Please indicate by saying aye if you favor the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries unanimously. Now we move to the fun part, which is the public hearings. And do we have a staff report on item 10, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. I do have just a few slides if you'd like to run through them, if it works. It'll be much better in about 4 months, we hope. Moving to the next slide. 4 long months. We've got a consultant on board that's doing the design already. That's why we probably won't have it. Well, this is you do have oh yeah, look at there. That was slow. This is an exhibit that shows the existing right-of-way for Roslyn. What is proposed to be abandoned is that existing cul-de-sac. That's because of the proposed development that was just approved by City Council. It shows a small little turnaround at what was the terminus of Roslyn, and I'm sorry, Roosevelt. And this shows the 25-foot radius left that would be used for public access so that we could actually sweep the curb and gutter, which is the smallest radius that our street sweepers can handle. It's been adopted as part of the plan, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Mr. Hoppe, I have a question. If looking at this tentative map exhibit on the west side or west edge of the property, there's a landowner that has an easement over the north, I don't know, 20 feet, 30 feet of essentially what's parking lot now that goes to that cul-de-sac. So that's their connectivity to a public right-of-way. I think. Maybe there's other connectivity. But I realize that if we abandon this public right-of-way, how does that property owner gain access to their easement and then to their own property?
I'm not sure I see where you're referring to. Sorry.
If you go back to the first color image, I can point it out. Very top.
This one right here?
Yep. There's an access easement that goes over to the cul-de-sac that they have. And if we abandon the public right-of-way, I'm afraid that they're not going to have access to a public right-of-way, and so then how do they gain access from a legal standpoint? I don't know if there's some other mechanism that needs to be in there, such as city grants them some other right, or the property owner grants them an additional right in the interim while the map is being approved. I also realize that oftentimes these things are rolled into the subdivision itself and not done separately because of issues like this.
We do have the applicant here, the developer. Perhaps you can give us an explanation.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for being patient, by the way.
No problem. John Reekston with the Olson Company. Yeah, that particular property owner will continue to have an access easement as well as the required number of parking spaces to continue to operate. So they will continue to have access. The bulb won't be there, but as you come south on Roosevelt, you'll still be able to turn right into that parking lot, and they'll still have full access to that.
I realize the end development will absolutely do that. I understand what's shown on the map and what the intent is. What I'm saying is in the interim of this street being abandoned and it takes effect and the map being adopted, which grants additional rights of way, in that interim, legally the person can't go across your land to access his easement.
Yeah, I believe that the abandonment itself is not effective until the final map is recorded.
Great, problem solved. That'll work for me. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Are there, besides the developer, anyone else in the public who'd like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I will bring it back to council. Are there any further questions from the council?
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, good. So moved and seconded to approve item 10. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
And those opposed by saying no. Carries unanimously. Did you need, the clerk need to give this a number or anything? Okay, good, thank you. You're approved. Thank you for coming this evening. Now we come to item 11, which is an appeal of a planning commission decision. In fact, there are 2 appeals. May we have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Joan Wolf. I'm with the planning staff. and I am going to give you a brief presentation on this appeal tonight. This project location is 101 South Harbor, the southwest corner of Harbor and Commonwealth. The building contains 2 tenant spaces. One on the corner is occupied by the restaurant subject to this appeal, and to the south is a tattoo parlor. This is just a photo to give you orientation to the restaurant location. The permit for this this business was approved originally in September 2009. It was requested by a prior business owner at this location. This is the 3rd modification to that original permit that has been processed. So the request tonight is a modification of the administrative restaurant use permit, or ARUP as we call it. ARUP is a use permit for restaurants that serve alcoholic beverages. It's a type of permit that's localized to the downtown area, and the intent is to ensure compatibility of the business and the alcohol sales with the general area and to minimize impacts on city services. So what has been requested is a modification of 3 conditions. One condition pertains to the sale of the consumption of alcoholic beverages and limits that until midnight, and the sale of alcohol is limited until 11:30 p.m. What the request is to extend those hours, allowing alcohol consumption until 2 a.m. and the sale of alcohol until 1:30 a.m. Also limited by the existing permit is live entertainment, which now must curtail at midnight. They're asking for an extension up to 1:30 a.m. And there's also a request for a dance area less than 100 square feet. The applicant tells us he does not intend to hold dancing regularly, but just wanted to make sure that he was in strict compliance with his ARUP in the event that people wanted to get up and dance to the live entertainment. This is a floor plan of the business. You can see up at the corner here is the proposed stage, small dance area, bar, tables, and the outdoor area. The Planning Commission reviewed this item on December 18th. They considered the regulatory framework. There's a specific section of the municipal code that deals with alcoholic beverage sales in the downtown area, and there are quite a number of conditions that are standard conditions that apply to all businesses seeking ARUPs. An ARUP, like a conditional use permit, runs with the land. It applies to the restaurant overlay district, which also is contiguous with the downtown area. This property owner or this business owner is a new owner and not the same one that originally received the ARUP for the business. And the request has gone through police department and obtained their expression of support for the proposal. The Planning Commission acted to approve the request. They found that it would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare or injurious to the surrounding properties. They felt that as proposed and conditioned, that adequate controls were in place to make sure that the business operated responsibly. 2 separate appeals were filed. The reasons stated for the appeal were due to the nightclub environment in downtown, concerns about increased bad behavior that we have seen in the past, a notice that the corner has very limited area for queuing, and there was a reference to the prior owner. An additional request by the applicant is to modify Condition 21. This did not go to the Planning Commission, was requested subsequent to that. And it's merely a clarification that the prior ARUP prohibited DJs, although we consider DJs just a subset of live entertainment. So this condition has been requested to read, live entertainment, including disc jockeys, shall be prohibited past 1:30 a.m. and shall be ancillary to the sale of food at the restaurant. The project itself, the business itself, is consistent with the Fullerton plan. Restaurants and the economic benefit of that and public safety would be upheld by the conditions of approval. So we have two actions before you tonight for your decision as to which of two actions to take. We have alternative resolutions prepared for each. If you decide to deny the appeal and uphold the decision of the Planning Commission, then your action would be to adopt the CEQA exemption, adopt resolution number 2014 A, denying the appeal, upholding the Planning Commission approval, consider the applicant's request to modify the condition of approval number 21, and to make findings as identified in the resolution. Alternatively, if you decide to uphold the appeal, you would be overturning the Planning Commission approval. You would make findings as identified in the alternative resolution and adopt that alternative resolution 2014B. Any questions? I'm happy to try to answer.
As I recall back some time ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, wasn't the previous I don't know, owner of the business looking at either getting or possibly getting their permit revoked due to multiple violations?
Yes.
And it's not the same party, not the same individuals?
Correct. It's a new business owner.
But if down the road we found that there was a problem with the way they were operating, in other words, multiple violations, that remedy is still an option to be able to revoke the permit?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
And then, Ms. Wolf, I have a question for you. The changes that the Planning Commission approved, would that bring this business into line with the other restrictions on these kinds of things we're talking about? Would it bring them more into line with other businesses?
Yes.
So no one else down there has the same restrictions that they currently have on them?
You know, I can't say for certain that no one does, but more commonly, businesses are allowed to sell alcoholic beverages until 1:30. With consumption to end at 2.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question. I'm reading the resolution, and it talks about the business being a nuisance business, but I think that's referring to prior ownership, and there's nothing explaining how the new business came in. So I read this. It seems to me that we're still saying this is a nuisance business. And if the business changed, why didn't we have a new application to start with? Why are we picking up on the old one?
Because the administrative restaurant use permit runs with the land, and so what they've done is just requested a modification of conditions. You don't have to get a new permit when you change business owners.
Well, then shouldn't there be something in the resolution explaining that this is really a new owner? I didn't see that anywhere in there, as it looks like, as I read it straight through, we're talking about a nuisance business asking for relief of some of the conditions that were imposed upon it.
Can you point me to which item you're looking at in the reso? Because it's not the intent to state that this is a nuisance business.
Item 6 on page 1 of the resolution.
What these are just citations of past prior actions. So if you go on, it continues to discuss other things that happened. So they're just listed in chronological order.
So we're attaching violations that occurred during a different ownership to the new ownership simply because the permit runs with the land?
We're just identifying in these items the past history of this permit.
Regardless of ownership?
Yes.
Okay.
Can't we add a little paragraph in here saying that there is a new owner so that we're clear and that the new ownership is making this request? To me it reads like we're giving a favor to a nuisance business. I don't think that's what we actually have here.
We could do that. I believe that the intent was that in item number 1 of the list, we cite the original owner, which was Church Lounge, and then in item 7, that it cites a new applicant, Jacob Purakala. But if you'd like to clarify that, we certainly can do that.
I think we should, because it tells me that the new business is a bad business, and I don't think that's what's intended here.
So what we could do is add in the recital number 6 that the business previously operated as church.
Well, that they probably purchased the alcohol license, among other things, and whatever they did to establish a new restaurant business there in place of the old one.
Yeah, couldn't
The
you
new people.
Couldn't you just include that, the statement in parentheses from number 1, DBA : Church Lounge? Couldn't you just insert that into item 6, that the business, and then in parentheses, DBA Church Lounge is a nuisance business?
When it was operated as Church Lounge, that's when it was the nuisance business, and now it's a totally new business, new owner.
Seems to me that that parentheses would just take care of it, because then in item 8 it says an application was filed by Jacob.
In any event, this is a public hearing and appeal of a planning commission decision. Are the applicants who made that appeal here? And if they'd like to make a presentation?
I believe they are here. Yes. Yeah, he's here.
You would want to...
The business owner.
So the...
If the appellants are not here, then...
Those making the appeal are not here. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, is there anything that the new owner, the barbecue business, would like to present to the council?
Well, to tell you the truth, in the absence of the appellants being here, I am poised to support this without hearing from the owner of the business. I do have a question of Ms. Wolf, though. In the Planning Commission minutes, there was much discussion about whether or not this business's hours of operation could continue till 4 a.m. And I noticed that in this resolution that on page 3, number 10, the hours of operation are limited, shall not extend past 2 a.m., which suits me just fine. I did not like the idea of the business being operated until 4. So if we pass this resolution with the clarification that Mayor Chafee has requested and the additional modification that the owner has requested, this business will be bound to operate no later than 2 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes, according to that condition.
All right. With that, I can support the recommendation, and I will make that motion.
Well, then you're, in essence, making a motion to deny the appeal.
Yes.
From the Planning Commission decision.
Thank you for clarifying that, yes.
Okay, but this is also a public hearing, and I'd like to invite any member of the public who'd like to speak on this item to come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. We do have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion of any member of the council? Mr. Whitaker? None? No. Anyone else? And then I will call the question. Those in favor of denying the appeal, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one has opposed. It carried unanimously. Item 12 has been thoroughly discussed. Now we come to item 13, where we're reviewing appointments to advisory bodies. Is there a staff report or anything that on that?
This was placed on the agenda at the mayor's request. I can clear the screen.
Well,
above
actually,
you.
I was following the request of 2 council
Okay.
people, but I did place it on the agenda.
At the request of the mayor via 2 council members. and I could walk you through the various positions you would like, or if you just want to focus on certain ones, however you would like to proceed.
Probably we should go in order.
Okay.
Okay. One of the reasons, well, I didn't ask that this be placed on the agenda. It was brought to my attention that this is generally placed on the agenda for an annual review. Recently, we're sanitation district first, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
correct.
do you want to continue with that, Greg?
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to continue with.
Your representation on the
yes.
sanitation district board.
Yes. I'd like to continue to represent the city with the sanitation district.
Okay. So, how shall we proceed?
Well, I think the first thing, if you want to make a change, then there's a motion to remove, followed by a motion to put somebody else on. Mr. Seaborn has indicated he'd like to continue. I sense that that's the consensus of the council, and we probably need to do nothing if that's the case with that item.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his term, the term on that board continues until when?
There is no specific term for that body.
Okay.
He remains on that board until such times he either resigns or you take action to remove him.
All right. The next one is the Orange County Water District. Sometime in October or November, it came to the attention of this council through numbers of emails that the Orange County Water District was considering the lease of a power plant to a private utility company for the construction of a peaking plant. The peaking plant was on the perimeter of the Platinum Triangle. It was opposed by residents and business in the Platinum Triangle. As a result of that, we asked for a presentation to our council on the power plant. The power plant consists of a development on 20 acres of land with 4 90-foot tall towers. The city of Anaheim has made a considerable investment, many, many millions of dollars in that development, and this council was concerned that the Orange County Water District was proposing to approve a lease without this development going through the normal planning process by the city of Anaheim. And indeed, the city of Anaheim was also opposed to the development. As a result of that, our council asked for staff to prepare a resolution that in effect would say that no representative that served on one of these local boards would vote to approve a project without that project going through the planning process of the municipal entity that it was occurring in. So, for example, if somebody wanted to build a peaking plant at the corner of Orangethorpe and Harbor, they would have to, that entity, that outside agency, would have to go through the Fullerton's planning process. Our city council adopted that resolution 3-5. I went to the Orange County Water District board meeting at which consideration of the lease occurred. And
I think it was, I'm sorry, I think it was actually 3-1-1.
Was it 3? Oh, 1 abstention and 1 voted no.
3-5, I think.
Right.
Well, my math gets real loopy after, and consider that I'm probably still on Cuba time too. So, because of that, our representative, Bruce Whitaker, who I have a great deal of respect for, I felt like he did not represent the interest that this council had expressed at a previous city council meeting, and I actually attended the board meeting to report to the Orange County Water District Board what had occurred on our city council. The motion to lease the property to the power company, the power plant developer, was approved by one vote. And it is for that reason that I am going to move that we remove our current representative, Bruce Whitaker, and select a new representative who will more properly represent this council.
May I respond, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, yes, go ahead, please respond.
You're right about at least numbers or something late at night. The timing that you've proposed was off because the council did bring up this issue prior to the vote on the Orange County Water District Board, but didn't take an action. That action happened after I lodged my vote on the Orange County Water District. So this council had an opportunity to take a vote, an advisory vote, and I would have certainly respected that and followed that advisory vote. That didn't happen, and the policy that you're referring to was approved after the vote as well. And you made one other claim that the water district was not following the proper procedure to allow for local control. And back after electricity deregulation in the state, this is now the territory of the California Energy Commission, and it is indeed following its proper path in terms of approval, which supersedes local control. So I just wanted to correct those which I think are factually incorrect. And I do want to tell you that I certainly do appreciate the fact that if this council directs a vote on such board, that I would respect such an action. But that did not occur here.
The reason it didn't occur was because we didn't have enough time to do that. And it wasn't on our agenda, so we actually could direct staff to prepare a resolution, but we couldn't actually vote on such a resolution that evening. That said, the city attorney for Anaheim had raised some significant CEQA issues because in tandem with the lease was a request for a zone change. And since the purpose of the property was to be completely different, it must comport with CEQA requirements, and that did not happen. And so, as you know, you attended that meeting, and I think the decision was made about 1:30 because there were so many objections to this. For example, one of the things that struck me as being unfair about this was that the company that was proposing the development had exclusive negotiating rights with the Orange County Water District for 6 months prior to the vote. In addition, the city of Anaheim has its own private utility company, and it provides electricity to its residents. Due to the fact that this was a peaking plant to provide electricity to Edison during times of high demand, the residents of the city of Anaheim were never even going to benefit from such a production. So by the Orange County Water District's agreeing to lease the property to the power plant, despite significant objection by adjacent residents and businessmen, it just didn't seem that we were playing fair with the city of Anaheim, and it didn't require a vote of this council to make that determination. In any event, I believe that another council person would be a more appropriate representative on the water district at this time.
May I call attention to the fact that there are 10 directors on the Orange County Water District, and only one of those directors represents the city of Anaheim and their municipal power company. All the other 9 areas are power is supplied by Southern California Edison. So your recommendation is that a regional body would follow the wishes of any one of its members and allow virtual veto power, or at least inability to utilize a property in that regard, and that's something that I have difficulty with. I understand that you disagree with that. But, you know, I'm a little surprised that you, as someone who has expressed on multiple occasions how you feel that you were wronged by your removal from the Orange County Water District after you lost a council race back when, over a decade ago, and that you still complain that you were removed midterm on that, first of all, after 1 year of representation, having been appointed by this council, that you would advocate a removal at this point.
To address the first point that you made having to do with giving one of the 10 board members veto power, to the contrary, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm merely suggesting that the resolution that this council passed and its desires expressed by the majority of members on this council was that any such project that is proposed to be within the boundaries of a city would have to go through that city's planning process. That is only fair. Then it would be entirely vetted, and the city would have some say in what happens within its boundaries.
So you wish to make that action retroactive on that vote, as I understand it?
I'm just saying that I don't believe you represent the consensus of this council at this time.
I may, if I redirect what we're trying to do, it is the pleasure of the council as to who serves in any advisory body. And I think there's some differences of opinion between you, and I'd rather move on, and maybe other members of the council would like to weigh in, and indeed public probably has a right to weigh in as well. So that's, in fact, I don't think you need to have a reason to make a change. It's a pleasure of the council type thing. So we do have a motion to remove Mr. Whitaker. I've heard no second. If there's no second, then the motion dies.
Yeah, I'll second it, and I'll just say that my concerns are much more general than that, not based on one vote. But general concerns I have, just about not understanding where you're coming from on some of your votes. And this city has a real sensitivity to local control issues. I'm a big advocate for local control. And so I'm just not confident that that is going to be there with Mr. Whitaker there on the water district. So I would second it.
Mr. Pro Tem, do you have any comments you'd make?
Yeah, to say that he needs to be removed simply because he didn't follow council's direction after the fact, I think would be wrong, and I think that is wrong. If you feel that he's not doing the job that you want him to do, then I suppose that's certainly within your ability to make that claim. From my understanding, from the role he has played there and talking to other water district board of directors and working closely with the water district, I serve on the groundwater replenishment steering committee, and I've seen the input he has representing the city of Fullerton, and it's a very positive effect. So I would certainly not support changing him, especially after the level of work that he's put into it, the effort to, pardon the pun, but build bridges within the water district to do the work that the water district needs. And I think he does represent the city of Fullerton. I think as council members, it's our job to give some opinion and direction when we feel it's necessary, and otherwise you have to make some assumption that the other members serving on these bodies are doing the job that they're supposed to be doing.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, add one last factor, yes, which is on all these regional board appointments, there is a certain amount of benefit that comes from continuity. And when I joined this council a little over 3 years ago, I inquired about activities on regional boards, and I was told that we only consider changes at natural expiration points, and that terms were respected. So in other words, I'm a little puzzled. This was listed as the mayor agendizing this, but I hear that maybe it was 2 council members and not the mayor. But I view this as a real change in what has been the tradition to review these annually with the look to remove members from regional boards. And that would be bad public policy, in my opinion, because it will lead to a very pronounced lack of continuity over time, and particularly if there's a one-strike rule of this sort. And I think that if you do choose to make that decision based on what we've heard so far, that certainly it's within your power, as you suggested. But I believe it's bad public policy, and it'll put the worst foot forward for this city with its representation on regional boards.
Well, I thank you. I will make one comment. I do believe we should annually review all of our appointments. I think it's a healthy thing to do. My position is simply that I think another member of this council would do a better job, and so I do support the motion.
And I only echo then that what you're really saying is that when it comes to rules or whatever is going to be the custom here, is that there are no rules in that event.
Is there any further comment? It is the pleasure of the council.
We can. It's a regular agenda item, so we can.
Okay, if there is any comment from the public. Well, actually, we could complete. There's a lot more to this item, so I would take all comments to all parts of this item at this time.
Go ahead.
This is really not only setting a bad precedent, but I think there's a little more emotion involved in this that is to make it a business-like decision. And also keeping in mind this whole issue going on in Anaheim, I think we should stay hands-off and back off of it. There's already a lot of, talk behind the scenes, who's pulling the strings, who wants what's going on. And I think we should just stay out of it. If we do something like this to one of our council members and fully politicize our council and Anaheim's politics, where are we? We need to work as a cohesive group. I don't think this city has been harmed by the consideration of that lease. And I honestly feel that the motivation behind this goes a little bit further than just caring about local issues and CEQA process. Thank you.
Sean Payton. My understanding of the rules of procedure are that you're not supposed to render your opinions until after the public has had an opportunity to speak. I basically heard that we now have a 3-2 motion before anyone had a chance to open their mouths and come up here. That is out of order. That is not the way this council is supposed to operate. You're supposed to listen to everybody, listen to all the evidence, then you make up your mind. Not come here with a predetermined decision on how this is going to go without listening to anyone. And hopefully that is not something that you do on a regular basis. What I'm hearing is somebody is being booted because of a vote that the council would have opposed had they had an opportunity, and that Mr. Whitaker should have known that you would have prevailed on a motion to direct him a certain extent. And I also would echo what Jane Rands just said. This is not a plant that was built in Fullerton. This is a plant that was built in Anaheim. This has no... His job is to represent the city of Fullerton on the water district. I have not heard anything here about how, even if everything you say is true, about how this has had any negative impact on the city of Fullerton at all. And I would remind you, local control, we had a fight over local control in June. I remember that fight. And Jan Floor and Jennifer Fitzgerald, both of you wanted to hand over local control of a regional homeless shelter to the County of Orange. Yes, you did. And so if we're going to be in favor of local control to the extent that we're going to bump somebody midterm and put somebody else in on a steep learning curve, then let's be consistent on that. Thank you.
Right. I see nobody else in the public at this time wanting to speak. I'm going to bring it back to the council. There is a motion pending. Are there any further comments from any member of the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Since, as already has been suggested, there is a 3-vote majority against me on this matter, it is important that I call attention to one other factor. This is a council decision. It's an internal organization decision. However, a conflict exists on this because Councilmember Fitzgerald does, in her political consulting fundraising business, represent at least one member of the Anaheim City Council. Now, Councilmember Flory earlier said that the city of Anaheim, and by that I read the council, opposed this project, and even today the council has not taken a formal vote opposing or taking any stance on this project.
Well, from my perspective, that all is irrelevant.
Yeah, the facts really don't matter. I get that.
I have nothing to do. We did adopt a resolution regarding local control, but that's not anything that I'm concerned with in this vote.
I'd call the question.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that Mr. Whitaker be removed from serving as a member of the Orange County Water District Board.
Aye.
I call the question. Indicate by saying aye if you approve.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, it carries 3-2. The clerk, I think, knows who voted which way. Will you please note in the minutes? All
I'd
right.
nominate Jan Flory to represent us on the Orange County Water District.
I will second that motion.
And just as a summary of my qualifications for that, I had previously served on the Orange County Water District for 4 years and on the Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency for 2 years prior to that, so I feel like I can step into the job without any missteps.
This is an important year as it appears we're going into an even more severe drought than we experienced last year. And I really do appreciate the ability of Ms. Flory in serving in this capacity. Any comments from the public on this motion? Seeing none, any further comments from council? Hearing none, I call the question. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Same vote as the previous. I now come to the vector control. Do you still wish to, Councilmember Flory, serve in that capacity in light of your new responsibility of being on the Senate?
Yes, I don't mind doing that. It just meets once a month, and it is not really daunting. I was just recently reappointed to that. It does give me the opportunity to meet with one member from every other city in the county as well, so it's a good time to network.
Any comments from anybody else up here? Any public comments? Seeing none, there's no action needed if we're not making any change.
No, we just appointed her last month, so
right.
This review is a bit unnecessary, really.
Next one is the Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency. Mr. Whitaker is the appointed representative, but it seems to me that goes with hand in glove with the water district. Is that something that Councilmember Flory should also take over?
I don't object to doing that.
Would that be consistent that we do that?
Do you want
I don't see any consistency here, actually, but you might as well bundle all of those related appointments and just make a single motion.
All right, thank you.
Okay, then you don't wish to continue serving in light of not serving on the other one?
No, I actually do wish to continue in its entirety, but you're right. These are related, and since Ms. Flory has reclaimed this, certainly I don't want to be in her way.
Okay, thank you. Well, then that would also, what's the other one? Water Advisory Committee, is that the other one?
Right, Waco. Mm-hmm.
Well, then I suppose a motion would be in order that, would you consider resigning, or should we make a motion?
Is this one of those questions of do I actually get a choice of resigning, or I'll be terminated? Just
a matter of
make
face.
your motion. Yeah, just make your motion.
Okay, well then, is there a motion then to remove Mr. Whitaker as our representative on the Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency Board and the Water Advisory Committee of Orange County?
So moved.
I guess second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
And is that an abstention or is that a no vote?
It's a no vote.
Okay, same vote. And then I suppose a motion to have Councilmember Flory serve in Mr. Whitaker's place on those bodies would be in order.
So moved.
Second. Comments from anybody? Well, then we'll call the question on that one as well. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Same vote. We now have the Independent Cities Risk Management Authority that traditionally has been handled by staff. Anyone want to make a change or just keep it that way?
I think we should just keep it that way myself.
I do as well.
All right, no action necessary. Then we have the Investment Advisory Committee, which traditionally is the mayor and pro tem. I don't think I've ever been at a meeting. I don't think I've had notice of one since I've been on that capacity. I'm happy to stay. I'm happy to have somebody replace me too.
I support the...
Just continue that
yes.
way? Anyone? Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is the Fullerton Sports Field Users Committee. Our representative is Councilmember Fitzgerald, and Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Seaborn is the alternate.
I, like you, on the Investment Advisory Board, have been to no meetings since I was appointed last year. I don't mind continuing to serve.
And Mr. Pro Tem, are you fine with being the alternate?
Sure.
Okay. All right. We'll keep that one as is too. And then we come to the Fullerton Sister City Association, which is me. I'm told I have no choice but to go to Korea in March on that one at my own expense. I actually enjoy that, but with your Cuban caper, you have any interest? No. Okay, well, I'm happy to continue on that if there's no one else wanting to do that. We now come to the Metropolitan Water District Board of Directors. Mr. Babcock serves as our representative.
Yeah, I actually would like to make a change to this one. I think Mr. Babcock has done a fine job at Met, but I would move to remove him. And I think it's important that we have a council member serve on this committee that is an important board, someone who's directly accountable to the ratepayers. And what's most important in my mind on this board is having a council member there who can build coalitions and develop relationships. What is really important on Met is the Orange County caucus as a whole, because Fullerton's vote is really so minuscule and compared with the other members. But the Orange County caucus can affect a lot of good influence when you work, as a cohesive team. So I would like to serve on that board and represent this council there.
And I would support that motion as well after hearing from the public first.
Okay, so we'll let the public weigh in, and then we'll look at whatever motion is appropriate.
Yeah, I feel that Mr. Babcock has been doing an exceptional job reporting on the water district activities, everything from the mayor's talks to council meetings. We've never had that before. I can't see how you could argue that he has not fulfilled his duties. And it's just, I'm again feeling like it's a little bit, maybe a little bit retributive, but a little bit of retribution here going on. Likewise, I do have some concerns about some policies that, for Ms. Fitzgerald to be serving on that board, the policies she's stood for in her role as president of the Chamber of Commerce, and her positions that may lean a little less towards the needs of us, the ratepayers, and maybe a little more towards developers and business interests. also based on sort of her business as a lobbyist. Thank you.
I would also oppose this as well. I've had a chance and opportunity to meet Mr. Babcock on many occasions. Water issues, like most residents, make my eyes glaze over. And to have somebody with his knowledge and his understanding of the issues on the board is a tremendous asset. If the board is, and if this council is going to bump him anyway, I would like, if he's going to go, and if he is going to replace, I'd like to see him replaced with somebody who has been a champion of, like Gene Rand said, of lowest possible water rates in the city of Fullerton. So that would be one of the council members who's consistently opposed imposing a water surcharge on the consumers and the taxpayers in the city. Thank you.
I see no further members of the public rushing to the podium, so I will bring it back to council. Now, if someone wants to make a motion, they can. It would be to remove Mr. Babcock.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion by any member here? Well, I will chime in. Mr. Babcock originally was advertised himself as a ratepayer advocate, and he has done none of that from what I can see. The reports come from a special program that the MWD does for its directors, and I'm sure we'll have the same excellent reporting there. I do like the idea of having a member of the council serve on the Metropolitan Board. I think that ties us in better. So I support the motion. Any further comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may. In my opinion, Mr. Babcock has greatly exceeded even my expectations as far as attendance at meetings, participation, diving into the process. I've heard from many MWD members that they are very supportive of him and that they've been impressed with what he has accomplished. So you may again, this majority of 3 on the council may again remove someone, even disregarding good performance. But I think it was unnecessary for you to make those comments you were just making. I do respect his fine service in this regard.
Certainly we'll give him a commendation at the appropriate time, but I stand by my remarks. If there are no further comments, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of removing Mr. Babcock from the Metropolitan Water District Board, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
The same vote. I would be pleased to nominate Councilmember Fitzgerald to serve on the Metropolitan Water District Board, and I make that nomination by way of motion.
And I will second that.
Is there any discussion?
My reason for nominating Jennifer is as we move about various agencies and events at which we bump up against elected officials, I am constantly surprised by the depth of her contacts and her relationships with other electeds in this county. And when she talks about building coalitions and so that we enhance and give more weight to Fullerton's vote on the Met Board, I think that is very important, because this city right now has only a weighted vote of approximately 1%. So I think the coalition building is essential to proper representation on the board, and I wholeheartedly support Jennifer as a result of that.
Any further comments? Then I will call the question. Those in favor of appointing Councilmember Fitzgerald to the Metropolitan Water District Board, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Same vote. Now we come to the last one, which is the North Orange County Cities Transit Assessment Study. Mayor Pro Tem Seaborn is our representative, and Councilmember Fitzgerald is the alternate. Is there any desire to make a change on that, or just keep it the way it is? No, I see no enthusiasm for change, so there's no action necessary. All right, we now come to item 14, Community Development Department, Housing Division would Mr. Kovac, please give us a report.
Good evening. It's getting late, but I guess I'll still call it evening. Charles Kovac, Housing Manager. I want to kind of give you an overview on the status of affordable housing projects and the expenditures of the 2010 housing bond and the next steps of affordable housing in the city of Fullerton. This overview will consist of how we got here tonight related to the 2010 housing bond, direction you provided on July 16th of 2013 regarding the Richmond Park area, and kind of a quick overview of the 3 affordable housing projects that could be considered for housing bond funding assistance. And those 3 projects are Squire Properties Rome Development, which was a part of the initial NOFA process that began in 2011 and was kind of impacted by the redevelopment dissolution, and then Community of Friends and the Waterford Group. Back in October 2010, there was an issuance of a housing bond in the amount of $28.9 million to be used on affordable housing. In August 16th of 2011, 4 projects were kind of selected in terms of going forward with the affordable housing agreements that would be eventually considered by the council. They were the Pathways of Hope, the Richmond Group, St. Anton Partners, and then a second tier was Squire Properties Rome Development. On February 1st, 2012, the Redevelopment Agency was dissolved along with other RDAs in California by AB 26, which impacted the timing of all these projects, because basically between AB 26 and Assembly Bill 1484, we weren't allowed to spend the bond housing fund until we kind of met certain requirements and received what we called the finding of completion. Well, we finally received that finding of completion on May 12th of 2013, so there was a substantial lapse in time of where we just couldn't move forward on projects. On December 18, 2012, the council decided to move ahead with the smallest of the projects, the Pathways of Hope, which was 8 units, and it was $630,000. This project is currently under construction, and if you probably noticed down the block, it's near completion. On October 1st of 2013, an affordable housing agreement was approved by the council for the Richmond Group project, a senior project at the 300 block of East Commonwealth Avenue, and the amount of that package was $8.972 million for 95 units. Construction is anticipated to begin this summer of 2014. So here's just to give a quick little view of what those projects were. This is the Pathways of Hope, and this was the Alexander project, which is the Richmond project, the senior project at Lawrence and Commonwealth. So after approval of the Pathways of Hope project and the Richmond Group project, approximately $15 million in 2010 housing bond funds remain. As previously stated, on July 16, 2013, Council directed staff to begin meeting with Habitat for Humanity on the Richmond Park area, and then of course we have our 3 affordable housing projects, the Squire, a Community of Friends, and a Waterford Group. Just to give you a quick overview of each one of those, the Richmond Park area, to date the city owns 17 properties in that neighborhood. Prior to the RDA dissolution back in 2012, staff was in the process of acquiring the remaining 10 properties along West Avenue and Valencia Drive between Richmond and Ford. In October 2013, kind of per the council's direction back in July of 2013, Habitat for Humanity was working towards revitalization plans for the area and even received an assistance service grant from the UOI to review past housing accomplishments, current housing opportunities, and revitalization strategies. And the conceptual plan outlined 3 types of affordable housing options that could be envisioned for the area, which include multifamily affordable rental, attached for sale housing, and single-family detached affordable for sale homes. The estimated amount of housing bond proceeds needed probably for the completion of the neighborhood is approximately around $6 million. Could be less, could be more, but it's an early guess at this point. Just to refresh your memories, this is the area. The orange area is properties owned currently by the agency. There's 15 properties along West and Valencia. You have 2 properties that are towards Truslow and Highland up in the upper northeast corner. And then we have the 2 existing housing projects from the prior set-aside money, which include the Habitat Project and the Olson Heritage Walk Project. Basically, the ULI study that Habitat worked with pretty much outlined the areas, the yellow being that should be detached for sale, the orange kind of like attached for sale, and then the kind of the burnt orange, reddish color would be attached multifamily. So that's kind of the concept they kind of came up with the ULI. There's more details involved in the study that was a part of the agenda packet that was provided to you. Before I get into the next project, I just want to know if you would like to ask any questions of Habitat for Humanity, or have them come up and address any, give them a little feedback, a little background on what they feel is necessary for the neighborhood.
Is there a representative here?
Yes, there is, I believe, Mark Karan.
That is still awake? Yeah, okay.
Mark awake? Looks like he's awake. I wasn't sure if you wanted to do it now, or do you want to wait till the end of the presentation? I could keep.
Well, if you're into Habitat right now, then why don't we have the representative come up and we can ask questions.
And Charles, I had a question. You're asking us to set aside $6 million for the development of this property, and it will overlay those 15 lots of the 17 that the city currently owns.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the city is, in addition to the $6 million, that the city is giving the land to Habitat?
Well, yeah, it would be the land, and we'd use that $6 million to acquire more properties, that in addition to the 15 properties that are in that neighborhood.
So when Habitat takes this over, if they are selected as a developer for this development, then the city will be deeding the land to Habitat. So if that is the case, then this is more than a $6 million commitment by far.
It's you know, figure 15 properties, you know, times around 750,000 roughly. Yeah, it's going to add up for the whole area, because you'll be talking about anywhere between 22 and 25 properties in the end, above and beyond, and then so 7 to 10 properties above and beyond the 15 that are currently in that area.
Mayor, if I could just make one comment on that. We're at a stopping point here and getting council direction on this policy, so there's no commitment in any sense. We're just trying to get a sense of the council, get some direction from you on, do we go further with Habitat, and try to give you the large picture here and the parameters of what we would envision coming forward. So it's a balance here of where we've been the last couple of months, based on get some concepts in front of you and put a big picture in front of you.
Yeah, we would come back with an ENA, exclusive negotiation agreement, sometime in the future that would kind of outline some of the financial details.
Why would it be an exclusive negotiating agreement as opposed to a request or notice of funding availability or something like that? Something that would let the world at large kind of know that it's there.
I mean, basically, we've this area kind of was, because we were in the process of acquiring properties back in 2010 prior to the NOFA, because we did have a notice of funding availability that went out in 2011, but we said this area was kind of off limits in that NOFA, and because we wanted to focus on still acquiring sites, we didn't want to piecemeal it. We wanted to do it as a whole, kind of master plan the area. So that's why we said, you know what, this is off limits, and so it wasn't a part of any NOFA that was prior done in 2011.
But in this case, we are following council direction in July to essentially look at concept plans exclusively with Habitat and bring forward some high-level approaches on what they would do if they were our partner. So the next step in that would be to either direct us or not to get into an agreement with them. to bring
And
forward for your
what would be the
consideration.
term of the ENA?
You're talking about length. I'm not sure. We haven't given it much thought, and I'm sure to do that area, they're going to have a development partner, I'm sure. So I'd like it to be done quickly, you know, in a couple of years.
Well, I'm thinking 6 months.
Yeah, it will be tight. The real problem is, if you know the area, it's we have to acquire properties. We have to have willing sellers that want to sell their property to us, because we, you know, you have 2 vacant spots, and then you have 4 units, and you have 4 units, and you have 3 vacant spots, and we don't want to develop around it. We want to be able to have a nice, suitable development site, and so it's going to take time to acquire those properties. Mark,
Thank you.
This is Mark Rondo from Habitat for Humanity.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Habitat for Humanity has been involved in the Richmond Park area since 2006 when you started acquiring properties. We've envisioned this as a completion, the start of a completion process in redeveloping the area. We have been committed long-term to this area and to the city. We currently operate programs outside of the Richmond Park area at substantial investment from Habitat into the city of Fullerton. We are also exploring out of the box for Habitat. As you know, Habitat for Humanity is a for sale product, affordable for sale product, rather than rental. And to that end, we are entertaining partners with well-known entities in the county. Specifically, I believe you received a letter of intent from Jamboree Housing in your packet this afternoon. I hope you did. If you haven't, I have copies of it. And we are starting to discuss some kind of a partnership with Jamboree Housing to provide the affordable rental component that we envision, and hopefully is your end vision as well. As far as the exclusive negotiating agreement, certainly these things are very, they can be protracted for the exclusive negotiating agreement. Certainly that only gives us the right to negotiate, not necessarily the right to develop it yet. So we see this as the first step, not the final step. You certainly have some other decision points along the way, and we encourage you to at least give us an opportunity to come up with an agreement that is beneficial to the residents and to the city, and meet your housing needs in over 3 product types, rather than just saying we're going to do this all as rental or ownership. And so we're trying to meet the city's needs, the housing needs of the community, and move forward with this. So we urge you to approve the staff's recommendation this evening. I can answer any questions if you have questions about what our concept is, or any other issues.
Well, I would like to know, how many units have you built in this area to date? I believe they're all home ownership.
Yes, in this area we have 11 homeowner units that we have developed and sold, with a first right of refusal to repurchase those properties for 60 years, so that there's a long-term affordability covenant, which can be renewed with subsequent owners. So if someone lives there for 20 years, decides they want to sell, Habitat repurchases it, the 60 years starts over again with the next buyer.
What income levels do you typically serve?
We typically serve the 30 to 80% AMI. And if you have any concept of the cost, that certainly there is a significant subsidy that Habitat is going to have to raise outside of the
land
of the land, yeah, and any bond funds that you may assign to the project.
When you say AMI, do you mean adjusted median income?
No, area median income.
Area median
Area
income
median?
determined by the state of California
Okay.
within Orange County.
All right.
Are any of the sites out there that the city presently owns, not the ones we're talking about acquiring, something you would build on right away?
Absolutely. We've along with the ULI study, there is a phasing plan that is a potential for some of the properties currently, and they occur right now in the area that we've identified as single-family detached cluster homes, like the same kind of product that we previously built on the site. There are some short-term opportunities potentially on the multifamily site if it was phased. Not the multifamily, on the attached product sites that we've identified. And that's all in the ULI study, as well as some work that we did with a planning agency here in Orange County.
I would like to see you out there building at least a couple more of the single-family types. I know you're looking at other products as well, but there may be some sites that are suitable to what you've been doing, which I think is great.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. There are some that the city owns currently that we identified as a first step. That could be 6 to 8 units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've worked on habitat projects in a couple of places, including New Orleans, and it's a great feeling when you're working with people dedicated as you have.
And certainly the past council members in Fullerton have participated as well.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions at this time?
Yeah. Is Habitat engaged before in apartment development?
No, we have not. This is a new concept for Habitat nationwide. To create what we call maybe an incubator home ownership program or a continuum of care. So where you would take people who you might get the multifamily in first, or some other product in, and then they could see, and we would work with the renters to show them that they could be homeowners in the same neighborhood, keep their kids in the same school. Give them something to aspire to. That's one of the reasons why, because we haven't done a multifamily rental in the past, that we're talking to partners, potential partners like Jamboree Housing, which has a very high quality product. They have, I believe, over 2,700 units. Is that right, Michael? Oh, 7,000. Ooh, 27 maybe in the western states.
You know, I'm thinking about this, and I understand the Habitat model for single family and having the owner work on it and help build it and learn about how you're going to maintain it long term and what have you. I see that model. I understand it. I'm trying to figure out how you could, as Habitat, build an apartment building that is affordable to build in the same way the detached single-family units are, and still will achieve all of those things that that we know Habitat can do. I'm just trying to understand, you know, what that process might look like, and it sounds like it's something that Habitat's even looking at and trying to understand.
Well, yeah, we certainly see the opportunity to work with the tenants of the partner that we bring into the development, that as an education process to start with, and then certainly, you know, walk out your front door and you can come and work on a Habitat project if, you know, we're successful in creating a partnership here with the city. And to understand what that means, you know, to be a homeowner, to be invested long-term in the community. This is a concept that certainly is new to Habitat, but certainly we are pursuing not only in Fullerton but in other parts of the county and the country as well. There are projects in in Denver and in Minnesota, which are just now starting to get traction in the same type of process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, I mean, there'll be recommendations at the end that you can move on, the council can move on. Getting to the 3 projects that that'll also be considered for funding. The first one's Squire
Charles,
Properties. Yes.
what is the correct spelling of Squire? It is spelled 2 different ways throughout this, even in the same sentence. Isn't it S-Q-I-E-R?
Yeah, right. Okay. Good catch. My apologies. Okay, Squire Properties, Rome Corporation. They have the Pacific Hawaiian Apartments proposal, which was recommended as part of the NOFA process back in 2011, and it was considered for bond proceeds available at the time, or if one of the other developers fell out of favor and decided not to move forward. And that did kind of happen with the St. Anton project. That one kind of just disappeared because they got caught up in the redevelopment disillusion. So Squire's still been moving forward with their project and their desire to build this project, and we've been exchanging financial information. The proposed project is located at 336 East Santa Fe. It's part of the Fullerton Transportation Center specific plan. The project is already entitled. As a component of the FTC, it would meet the state's required criteria for inclusion of affordable housing, which could provide more grant funding in the long term. The total units are 55 units. The request is approximately around $9 million, and which is $163,000 per unit, but that's kind of high. But it's mainly $81,000 per bedroom because they have a lot of 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. So compared to like such projects like the Richmond project, it's still pretty much the same when it comes to the cost per bedroom. Like I said, the status, they currently have the option on the property, and they're ready to move forward with your blessing. They would love to get direction from you to start to continue to negotiate on an affordable housing agreement to be considered by the City Council at a future date. And just to kind of refresh your memory, this is the design of it, very contemporary building. Good job by Mr. John Silver, local architect. The next one is a Community of Friends. The Community of Friends is proposing a development at the 3-story, it's an affordable apartment building at the 1501 West Commonwealth site, 36 units.